Hello everyone, my name's Jase and welcome to our first ever live stream event for Moonfrost. I'm the Market and Community Manager, so you may have seen me around already in the Discord, but it's a pleasure to be hosting this first event. Before we get into the fun, I just need to make a quick disclaimer that everything you do see is an alpha stage of development for Moonfrost, so this is not the final version of the game. There is plenty more features and updates and upgrades we need to do before that stage. I want to take this time to have a special thank you to everyone who's attended this live stream today, but also for the immense feedback we've had throughout development, be it a playtester, a VIP, or a general community member. You've actually provided us some really valuable insights and questions, mainly in the Every Vote Counts channel on design. So it's really, really lucky for us today that we've got some people on board. Of course, we did say there was something special to share at the end of the live stream, so please stick around for it. You probably don't want to miss it. But that's enough of me talking for the intro. Luckily for you, I have brought along a few awesome members of the game development team to help with the live stream, who know a lot more about the design and building Moonfrost. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to them.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Ferrer. I am the sprinkle of Spanish sunlight of the design team, where I specialize in gameplay, system design, and balancing. I've been working in the industry for about 10 years already, mainly in mobile game companies such as Gameloft, but I also released my own game on PC called One True Hero, shameless plug. But yeah, my role in this team is to make sure that Moonfrost feels great to play, and you've always got something to keep you busy while you're saving up for the next cool shiny thing that you want to get.
Hi folks, I'm Indigo Levy. I'm the resident game writer and narrative designer for Moonfrost, which means I basically design all the systems and features that relate to our NPCs, our narrative, our dialogue, our quests, and that also involves writing all the NPCs and dialogue and narrative and quests. I've been in the industry for about 6 years now, and I've worked on games prior to Moonfrost like Gears Pop and Fall Guys over at Mediatonic and Epic, and I'm very, very excited to chat about the game with you all today.
Hello everyone. I'm Nuno Gonçalves, and I'm an associate lead for an amazing engineering team that is working really hard on the very ambitious ideas that the design team cooks up for us. So we're really excited to show off a bit of our work. As a bit of a personal intro, I've been working in game dev for 7 years, mostly on mobile games, from arcade racing to multiplayer strategy. And this is one of the most exciting projects I've worked on, so I really hope you enjoy the rest of the stream.
Hi everyone, I'm Arran, Topalian, and I'm the lead designer on Moonfrost, and it's really great to have you all here with us. This is very cool. To give you a bit of my background, I've been working in the games industry for close to 10 years now, working on lots of different games with previous experience, including places like Ferrer, working on Sea of Thieves, Microsoft Research Cambridge, and Mediatonic, where I worked on several different projects and was also pretty involved in the pitching process for coming up with new games for the studio. Since I joined the project when it started, or close to when it started about 2 years ago, it's been my job to define the vision of Moonfrost and what the game is and how we communicate that identity and what features and systems the game should have in it and how to make it something cohesive that all of you as fellow fans of the genre would love and enjoy playing. So for anyone who isn't super familiar with Moonfrost or is new to the game, just to give you a bit of a high-level description of it, it's a retro-inspired live service multiplayer game that aims to offer all of you and our players a never-ending, premium quality life sim CCRPG, and really kind of combining the best bits from classics like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing and Zelda to create an ongoing experience that's familiar, but also unique. And it's very cool to be doing this live stream with all of you because ultimately this is a game for you. We're constantly thinking about our players and our community and listening to what you have to say when we're designing the game, and we're really trying to make it something that's special and gives you everything you could possibly want from a life sim farming RPG. So we really do appreciate all your support and excitement, and I really hope that you enjoy the live stream. So with that, I think we can probably jump into the game. Nice one. Thanks, man. So yeah, we'll just skip past these. These are the onboarding screens that we had, but we'll skip past these for now and just jump right into the game. So we just like flick through these real quick, Nuno, and we'll just start playing. And we'll pick a character for now. So yeah, at the moment you can pick between 1 or 2 characters. This will change in the future where you'll be able to make your own character and customize your own character. But for now, it's just a placeholder solution. We offer 2 characters you can play as. We'll go with Ava for now, who features our new Chibi to show off. This is the new Chibi, which we'll touch on a little bit later. So yeah, this is the map. This map we're on right now is what's called the player's Homestead. And this is basically your own private map where you can do things like gather resources and farm crops and more, which Danny will be touching on a little later on, as will Indigo. So I'll talk a bit about the core loop and the targeting as part of this. I should also point out as well, when it comes to the Chibi, there are some placeholder animations which will be getting updated. So as Jase mentioned at the start, there are some still things that are a lot of things are still a work in progress, but just to call that out. So yeah, the core loop of Moonfrost is fairly similar to the traditional loop that people know and love in this genre, where you'll do things like plant and water seeds to grow crops that take different amounts of time to grow, and they'll produce different qualities of loot depending on the things like the tool you're using, and obviously a little bit of luck. So there will be other ways as well that players can affect the quality of the crops they make, but that's something to talk about in a future live stream. So Nuno, if you could go ahead and grab some seeds. Radish seeds, good choice. Nothing to do with the fact it's the only one available. It's my favorite. Great. And then jump over to the workbench and we'll craft a couple of tools. So let's grab the hoe and we'll grab let's just grab everything. Let's grab the hoe and a scythe and a watering can. Let's go wild. Cool. And if we could just start farming some of those. Yeah, farming and resource gathering will always be a very important part of the Moonfrost experience throughout the gameplay spec. We use lots of crops and resources like wood and stone to complete the many quests and the many crafting recipes that you'll gradually unlock in the game. Like I said before, our core loop is fairly traditional, but there's probably 2 things that we think will make Moonfrost's farming and resource gathering feel unique. And the first of these is our controls and our targeting. It was super important to us right from the start that doing things like farming or chopping trees looked and felt really good to do. And a big part of this comes from how you control your character in the game, the visuals and sound effects, as well as how you actually target and interact with the world around you. So to explain what I mean by targeting a little bit more, if Nuno were to equip the scythe, which I don't think he has right now, equip the scythe, yeah, you can see this directional arrow appear, and that tells you the direction you're aiming your swipes with the scythe. And not only that, but when you use this, if Nuno were to use the scythe, you can see that Nuno is able to slice through multiple weeds at the same time, instead of just having to like put his mouse over individual weeds and cut them one by one. And this is very inspired by games like Zelda, for example, and that super satisfying experience of slicing through lots of grass with your sword. So we spent a lot of time really kind of honing the controls and the targeting of Moonfrost to make it very satisfying and fun to play, but also intuitive, so you know exactly what you're doing. So to illustrate that, if Nuno were to swap out the scythe for the hoe, yeah, and you can see there the targeting changes so that Nuno understands exactly which tile he's about to till. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the progression of farming and resource gathering in Moonfrost. So while you'll all be able to unlock things in the game that allow you to automate your farm, with Moonfrost, we really wanted to make sure that the core gameplay of farming and resource gathering never became obsolete. So we wanted to make sure that things like watering or harvesting crops or chopping trees is something you'll be doing and still be doing, whether you're a new player or a player who's been playing for several months. So the core gameplay always stays relevant. So, but at the same time, we want to make sure that our players and all of you enjoy in-game progression that lets you do things more effectively and in a more fun way. So instead of eventually having a farm that does everything for you, such as having sprinklers that water your crops for you automatically, you'll also be able to unlock new abilities and tools that let you do things like watering or chopping or harvesting more effectively and more quickly and in a more fun way. And a great example of that is something we call power tools, which Nuno just so happens to have in his inventory. It's almost like we planned this. So the two examples of power tools we've got here are the Earthquaker, which allows you to clear lots of objects really quickly, and the Super Sucker. So if Nuno could find a little spot here, and you can see the Earthquaker is much more effective than like using different tools to do different things. And then you also have something like the Super Sucker, which is also in Nuno's inventory, which allows you to harvest crops and gather loot more quickly. Well, but as you can also probably see, there's a little number above the hotbar, and this is called biofuel. So tools like this need biofuel to work, which you would have to craft. So even though you'll have these super powerful tools, because they rely on what's basically a type of ammo, I guess, they don't make things like axes or harvesting crops by hand obsolete, because at some point you'll have to use the axe to harvest crops or gather resources by hand to get the stuff you need to make more biofuel, to then be able to use the power tools again. So between things like power tools and abilities, which, like I say, is something we're going to cover in another live stream, that's more up down the line, we want player progression to ultimately result in our players and all of you growing and harvesting and gathering lots of things, and basically being able to create these sort of mini fireworks shows for yourselves, and generating lots of sparkly loot together, which we think is a fun thing to do.
That was some awesome insights, so thank you, Arran. I think I'd like to jump to some questions that were like pre-asked from the community. And the first one will probably touch on a lot what you've already covered, but a community member known as Bass, they always help out in the community, so they wanted to know what were the drastic changes from player feedback from the alpha playtest that they can
gotcha.
be
Cool.
in game now.
Yeah, sure. So short answer, yes. We got a lot of really great feedback from AR1 that helped with that. Like the overall feedback from everyone who participated in the playtest was super positive, which meant a lot to us. Who doesn't like being told they're doing a good job and a little bit of reassurance? But there were definitely some major callouts that helped us hone in on certain things that could be better. So one of those things was to have a better looking in-game character, which I totally get, because it's something that I really appreciate having in all the games that I play, because that's who you are in the game world, right? We were already planning on updating the in-game character, but the feedback really helped us identify what our players and our community wanted from it, which ultimately led us to what we have now. Like I say, there are still some animations that are a work in progress and will be refined and improved, but the overall style and new style is what we have now, which we're really happy with and very excited by. And we also think it will really help when it comes to things like character creation and customization in the game. So we think this style will support that a lot better. And another big call out from our playtest was that our players wanted a clearer and more granular onboarding to the game. As anyone who works in game dev will probably tell you, making games is hard, and things that look small or seem simple in game can usually take a bit more time to implement than you might think. So, and we also have to work within deadlines, right? So with AR1, we implemented the onboarding book, which is just to the left of Nuno there with a little exclamation mark over it. If you just click on that for me, Nuno, this is what showed up at the start. So this is what we implemented for AR1 to give players a few helpful slides to explain how to play the game. And this was our sort of placeholder solution. But as part of the next release, we'll have more granular tasks that sort of take the player step by step through the game. So if we could jump out of this for a second, and if we talk to Ash, to give you an example, you can see here the tasks in the sort of top right of the corner. So if Nuno was to talk to Ash, and say something real quick, and then if we jump out of that, we've already unlocked radish seeds. Like I say, this is work in progress, but it's fine.
Radish seeds.
Yeah, more radish seeds. You can never have too many radish seeds. So our tasks are so our tasks are now able to do things in a more granular way. We can create more specific tasks that in turn will allow us to have a more clearer onboarding process when players start the game that teaches them how to play by playing.
Awesome. Yeah, that makes a lot more insight. So I think the main thing there is the feedback coming through actually making it into game? And quite frankly, like, yes, there's a lot of features, but we have
massively,
to that.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, that's a big part of why I've loved working in Moonfrost as well, is because we get to work with the community and our players so closely. We're not like behind closed doors in a box. Like, we actually get to find out what people want and figure out how to do that in the right way for the game.
Yeah, thanks, Arran. Shall we jump on to the next section? Don't go with the time.
I'm gonna talk a little bit about our characters and our designs and stuff like that. I might geek out a bit. I'm sorry. I just get very excited when I get to talk about this. So I wanted to touch on our quest a little bit as well. Arran's just spoken on that a little bit, but the main thing that I want to talk about with quest is this is very much not what our quest will be in the broader game. So the way we've been building it is we've started off with a very basic implementation, and then we're going to kind of keep adding new bricks, new layers on top of that. So our quests are going to be really varied. They're going to take you to all sorts of different places and have you do all sorts of different things. And one of the things that I'm really excited to explore a little bit more with our quest is to do with like almost like secret quests and mysteries. So you might do something and have no idea that it's going to launch you into this whole new storyline. So you'll have things like main quests and optional side quests and kind of all that good stuff. But then sometimes maybe something completely random will happen, and you'll be Alice falling down the rabbit hole, and you'll get to kind of discover a whole new part of the game that you had no idea. And one of the things that we really want to encourage with that is our community talking to each other. So maybe you discover an object and you don't know what to do with it yet. And maybe if you jump on the Discord or talk to another player, maybe they found the same object and you can figure it out together and figure out how to progress in that quest. So we really want to have that really nice balance between knowing where to go next and what to do next for your main objectives, but also never quite knowing what's going to be around the corner. So I just wanted to touch that on that with our quest a little bit. But the main thing is our characters. So as you can see, we've got a couple of NPCs in the game at the moment. We've got Ash, who you guys saw earlier, and we've also got Walter. I don't want to give too much about them away because part of the joy of Moonfrost is going to be learning about these characters and getting to know them yourself. So I don't want to give you guys any spoilers just yet. But Ash is the owner of our beauty salon. Ash is very, very rebellious and maybe a little bit rude sometimes. If Ash is rude to you, don't worry, it's not personal. And then we've also got Walter, who is our kind of happy, wholesome, optimist kind of grandpa style character. He does have a bit of a sad backstory, so get to know him. Maybe you can find out a little bit more about him. And he is the owner of our general store. And if you ever need some words of wisdom or advice, he is your go-to guy. As you can see, our in-game chibis, Ash and Walter, look slightly different. So this is kind of the makeover process that the art team has been working really hard on. And I think our characters are looking better and better. They're still not completely finished, so there's still going to be some more polish. But we're kind of going through that makeover process at the moment. So you can see Walter looks quite different to our main character and Ash. Our NPCs are important because they're going to kind of own the different shops and the different activities that you can do. So you're going to be in quite frequent contact with them. And they're also, social interaction and romance. But one of the things that we really want to do is showcase not just your relationship between you and the NPC, but also the NPC's relationships with each other. That's something that's really important to me, is that our NPCs will interact with each other as well as with you. So you're not the only person they talk to. You're going to see Walter and Ash develop their own type of relationship as well. One of the things that we did that you guys have seen in that dialogue is we've got our in-game Chibis who match the environment and the game world, and they're a little bit cuter. But then in dialogue, we've also got our 2D avatars. And the reason we did this is because we felt like having something a little bit more realistic, a little bit cooler, really helps you develop that emotional and kind of sentimental attachment to the characters. So we feel like the two different art styles for each character kind of really help you form that bond with them. Also worth saying, as a side note, of course, the UI is very, very placeholder. It's not going to look like that in the game, but we're working on that at the moment. One of the things about dialogue that I'm really excited about is I've been very inspired by Hades' dialogue system, if anyone's familiar with that. And Hades does something really cool in the way that they kind of get the game to feel like they get the player to feel like the game is really listening to you and looking at what you're doing. So we've worked really hard to create a robust system that kind of listens to different conditions and priority triggers. So you might get, you'll get different lines of dialogue depending on the weather. Ash, if you've got 50 carrots in your inventory, Ash is going to comment on why do you have 50 carrots in your inventory. So we're really going to be able to acknowledge you as the player, as an individual, and kind of what you're currently doing. So you can go to the woods at nighttime and the character might acknowledge that you've done exactly that. So that's our little bit on our dialogue and our characters. I think that rounds it up quite nicely. We've got a couple of questions maybe as well, if you want to go for it, Jase.
Please, yeah. So we had a few come in before the live stream. For people obviously in the live stream right now, we will get to your questions as well, but we'll do it towards the end of the live stream so we're not interrupting the flow. But some questions around this feature. One came in from DCX Rama, and it was asking, what can you marry other players in the game or interact with like non-playable character to player character?
In terms of marrying other players, I don't think we're going to do that, though you will be able to play with your friends and other players in the game. In terms of marrying NPCs, we are currently in the process of figuring out what romance looks like in the Moonfrost world. We're trying to not fall into some of the pitfalls that we've seen in romance systems for other similar games in the genre. So I don't want to give too much away on that, but you will be able to romance in some form. But we're still kind of in the process of figuring that out at the moment.
Got you. Yeah. So like we said earlier, this is a very early alpha release still. So there's loads of features we want to add, but one of those would be like romance. Another question came in, which was from Blank, and they're asking, will the character on Moonfrost be customizable with accessories?
Yes, our characters will be customizable. You will be able to make your avatar look exactly as you want. You'll be able to change your hair, your clothes, your accessories, your hair color, all of that good stuff. Part of the joy of Moonfrost is really creating your own world and your own experience. So you can customize yourself. You'll be able to customize your environment and your home. That's going to be a really big part of the experience. And speaking about customizing your home, I think that takes us quite nicely into our next section. Thanks, everyone.
Cool. So I'll start with my section. So we mentioned several times that everything you see here is currently in development, and this feature that I'm about to talk about is a great example of that, since developers are currently working on it as we speak. So it's a really early sneak peek of something that we've been teasing for a while, which is build mode. So this will be a new feature that allows you, the players, to create the farm of your dreams. Whether it's a small, cozy cabin in the woods, or a haunted Gothic manor, or a massive medieval castle. We want to give you the freedom to go wild here and share your creations with the community. So, Nuno, let's go into build mode. We have this little button in the HUD. It won't look like a moon in the future, but all of this is temporary, as I said. So once you're in build mode, you can be able to move the camera around to get a good overview of the map so that you can plan out what you want to build. And then once you pick a spot, you can go ahead and place some floor tiles, for example. So building these tiles will require that you gather resources in the game, such as wood or stone. But for now, let's forget about that aspect. It's all going to be free. How about we add some walls to this? Cool. So some of you may have played with similar mechanics in games like The Sims, Animal Crossing, V-Rising, Valheim, Minecraft. We looked at all of those games for inspiration when designing build mode, which we hope will be just as easy to use as in those games and super fun to play around in. Also, because our game has a fixed isometric camera, you won't be able to turn around and look behind walls, which means that we had to design a system that allows us to hide these elements when the player walks behind them, so that you can always see what your player is doing at all times and what's around you. You don't get stuck on things that you can't see. Nice. Now that we have some floors and walls, why don't we try and decorate the building a little bit with some stuff that we've crafted beforehand? So Nuno has just opened this inventory of decorations that we have here. These are all things that we've crafted before going into build mode. And you can very easily just click on them and place them around. You can rotate them. Everyone likes to have a bed outside and one inside. We will obviously have stuff like roofs, windows, doors, stairs, and so on. But as I mentioned, this is a work in progress, so we will sadly have to leave that part of the building for your imagination for now. We tried to make the system as granular as possible, so that you can do stuff like place little mugs on top of tables, or even on top of beds if you wanted to, like this. So you should be able to make like your ideal farm. If you want to have a bunch of mugs all around the house, like a hoarder, then you can. Who doesn't like to have a fridge on top of a fridge on top of a bed?
I think that's my favourite design feature so far, so can we please keep that in? Just a tower of fridges. That's like my dream.
You can have a community competition to see how many fridges you can stack on top of each other. As you can see, our art team has been already working on loads of really cool pieces of furniture. There's going to be so many more coming soon. I really can't wait for you guys to get your hands on this and show us what you can do.
Yeah, this is looking awesome. So thank you for showing that, Danny. One of the questions that came through related to build mode from Quicksilver this morning actually was, will build mode be playable as a casual beginner gamer or like an experienced dev? So what I think they're saying is, how friendly is it going to be to someone coming into the game? Can they build a house, or is this going to be like, this is way too hard?
Well, as you can see, Nuno has just made the best house ever in like 2 minutes. So it is very easy to make buildings and decorate them. But we also made our own kind of build mode, which is for us to make our own buildings. So that we can fill out villages or maybe cities or whatever we want to do in future maps. But players, you'll be able to get into your farm map for now, just your farm map, and build whatever you want inside of it. And it'll be pretty easy, hopefully, and user-friendly.
Awesome. Yeah, that's where the alpha comes in, alpha stage development, so I'm sure we can polish that later on. Awesome.
Cool. So now that you've seen Nuno place all of these decorations, you may be wondering how you get these decorations in the game and how that may relate to other in-game activities such as farming or foraging. So Arran, how about you walk everyone through how that's going to work?
Sure, we can do. Thanks, Danny. I love your design of a house, by the way, Nuno. It is impressive. That's where I want to live. So as I mentioned before, we want Moonfrost to be an ongoing experience, right? So a life sim farming RPG that you can come back to for many years and enjoy new content, new stories, new features, new places, and so on. But if it's going to be an ongoing experience, we knew that we needed a way or style of player progression that would support that. And something that you could all keep collecting and earning in the game, but also something that made it really easy to understand what you should care about getting most. And so to achieve this, we'll be implementing something called Moonfrost cards into the game. And Moonfrost cards are basically, long story short, collectible crafting recipes for all sorts of different things, whether it's decorations or new wallpaper, even new NPCs. So by completing quests and overcoming different challenges in the game, you'll be able to collect these cards that give you these crafting recipes that require different resources or crops to craft them and then to create them in game. We, like a lot of us at Gonçalves, really like the process and the experience of collecting in games like Moonfrost, so this felt like a really natural fit with the design and a great way of sort of providing the game with a style of long-term progression that we think and hope you'll all enjoy, as well as helping ensure that farming and resource gathering is always important throughout the game's lifespan, right? Because you'll constantly need more resources of varying rarity in order to craft the new cards that you're earning in the game. But also, in addition to letting you craft new things in the game, card crafting will also be the main way that you'll earn XP in the game and progress. So each time you craft a new crafting recipe for the first time, you'll earn XP. So by decorating and customizing and crafting things, that's the main way that your character level will go up, and that will allow you to unlock new quests or features, and in turn, new cards to collect as well, which will just keep getting added to the game over time. I think that covers it.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good insight into kind of how players will be able to actually collect all these items and then use the items. So thank you for that. That's awesome. Let's go for a few more questions, then we'll open it up to everyone in the stream now to start getting their questions in. So one from Kunso was how can we, like, is there certain, what's the word? Sorry, I'm just trying to put it into a different word. What is the way to collect one of these special items? So through the cards, are they all going to be the same type of card, or?
So no, there'll be loads of different categories of card, and you'll be able to collect these through a bunch of different ways. So you'll be able to get them by doing quests, you'll be able to get them from live events, you'll be able to get them from dungeon bosses, which is a bit of a spoiler, but you'll be able to do it by getting engaged in combat as well. You'll be able to get cards that way. You'll be able to get cards by advancing relationships with NPCs. And the cards will cover a wide variety of categories. So, like I say, it'll be tools, weapons, clothing, furniture, and the biggest one is NPCs. There will be some NPCs that are optional NPCs that you can collect as a card and then craft the card to get these new NPCs to meet and befriend and romance, and also potentially earn even more cards from to add to your collection.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks. I think that sums up and answers it. Since you dropped the word adventure in there, the chat seems to be going absolutely crazy. So we can answer some questions on that as well with dungeons. So yeah, we've got time now to kind of open it up to the community on the live stream if you want any questions answered. So please use the text function on the top right of your screens. There's a little chat box, and please let us know your questions. We've already been jotting down a few, so we'll go back and answer some of those now. So the first one from Kitty was, is this going to be platform PC, like a PC game at launch, or is it going to have other options? So cross-platform eventually, etc.
Yeah, I can touch on this one. We are eventually looking to be cross-platform, with the goal of being on multiple platforms.
Cool.
That's our ultimate long-term goal.
Awesome. One from Reef was saying, is Ash single? They're asking for a friend.
I feel like a lot of people are asking for a lot of their friends. Ash is single, but I am not willing to divulge more information on Ash's availability status right now. But you will be able to spend some time and get to know Ash a bit better and maybe see what happens.
Got you. So in other words, play the game and then find out, so they can explore it. Awesome. Another one from, I don't know how to say this name, sorry if I say it wrong, Ashi, A-C-H-I. How are we going to sell items in the game? So is it like a shipping portal? So in other words, can you sell it from the inventory, or is it a different method for selling items?
We are still talking about that on the design side. So right now, the placeholder solution is that you can sell things from your inventory, for sure. But that may change in the future. We're currently deliberating between what's the most convenient solution versus what's the most immersive solution. So this may change in the future. It may be that you have to go to certain stores or certain shops or certain NPCs to sell certain things, or there may be a sell box. It may be that there's a different kind of solution involving a drone, and that's all I'm going to say. But it's still a question that we're thinking about and chatting about on the design team.
Awesome. Yeah, so it was probably a really good question. We're putting the Every Vote Counts channel afterwards as well to get everyone's feedback on how we should, or what they think of the selling mechanics for Moonfrost for items. We've got a few real, more technical questions. So I'm going to take one from Early Grey. Shout out to Early Grey. You ask a lot of questions in the community, which I don't know the answer to. So I'm glad we've got some other game devs on here. So do you plan to add adjustable perspective? So e.g., currently it's 45 degrees tilt to the right. So what I seek is allowing to change that to a 0 degrees, similar to how Stardew Valley, or even fully adjustable from 0 to 360 degrees.
Do you want to touch on that one, Danny?
As I mentioned before, our camera is fixed. You cannot rotate it. That is because all the pixel art has been hand-drawn with this perspective in mind. So if you rotate the camera, it's just going to see really weird stuff.
Okay, yeah, maybe we won't do that then. So yeah, in other words, it's a fixed isometric, so you won't be able to rotate. One of the things on there I'd just like to highlight as well, we've had a few people say the camera shake is quite heavy, and we will be looking at other features in later on the line of having a toggle, I'm sure. Is that correct? Yeah, for accessibility and control for that player. Awesome. Cool. We got one from Watts. So is this a real-time weather system?
It is a real-time weather system. Yes, in the sense that the weather is changing in real time. You'll have, I'm not quite sure what real time means. So I'm assuming it just means, is it changing passively? Is it just going from one weather state to the next? And in which case, yes. So it might be that at some point it rains, and then it'll transition into sun, and then it may even transition to different weather states as well. As we progress and develop the game, we'll probably add new weather states that will affect the world in different ways.
That makes sense. I think what they may be trying to get at in a sneak peek is, can they min-max planting crops, and then if they know it's going to rain at a certain time in game, then they don't need to water the crops. So
I like it.
The live weather system is definitely, you're going to have to water your plants and your crops. I'm sorry, that's what the watering can's there for.
It may be that in the future where we will add the ability for players to find out what the weather forecast is. So up to a certain point anyway, so you can plan around the weather that's coming up a little bit. Mm-hmm. That may be something that we add in the future, but that's all I can say for now.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that covers we've had a lot of questions about weather, so I think that covers most of it. So there'll be several different types of weather, and more features and weather choice and weather will be in the game at a later stage, I'm sure. But you won't be able to manually change it. You can't control it. You haven't got superpowers, sadly. Cool. One of the ones about build mode, obviously, we haven't showcased the roof element yet, but how will the roof work from a design standpoint?
So very similarly to how you place walls and floors, you'll be able to say where you want your roof to be. There'll probably be different shapes, and they'll definitely be hidden when you're inside or behind the building so that you can see what you're doing at all times, just like everything else.
Yeah, that makes sense. That was one of the, I think there's a big element on the player feedback surveys from our first alpha playtesters was the like building occlusion. So yeah, on the buildings itself, you'll be able to see, in other words. That's awesome. Well, hopefully as well. Cool. We've got got time for a few more. So from Niers, can we visit other players' houses or build a clubhouse, guild hall together with friends?
Is it like touching on multiplayer?
Yeah, I think what they're saying is, can they build with other players? So it will be a multiplayer aspect there. Asking.
We are still thinking about multiplayer and exactly how far-reaching multiplayer will take us. You will be able to invite other players to your farm, for sure. That's definitely a big part of it. And there will be places in the game, like certain maps, where you can meet other players organically and just see other players running around, and you can choose whether or not to engage with them or what they're doing, whether it's fighting an enemy or whatever else. When it comes to actually creating a house together, it's something we definitely love the idea of. And we are talking about in terms of how we do it, because we know that it's something that we definitely want to be able to do on the game. But if we can do it is a different question, like from various standpoints, like from a design perspective, but also an engineering perspective. But it has come up
several times. Yeah,
yeah.
That's awesome. So yeah, we can probably give you more information on that when that feature is closer in development. We've got, like I said, time for a few more. So one from Simple Potato. Can you be in a platonic relationship with NPCs like you can in Probert from Stardew Valley?
Yeah, so one of the philosophies that I've really tried to hone in on when it comes to our NPCs is, at least on a long enough timeline, I want there to be someone or something that everyone can relate to in some way or another. So we are going to be exploring all different kinds of friendships and relationships, and ranging from the platonic to the romantic, and all sorts of weird situations us humans can get in between. So yeah, there's gonna be a whole variety, and it all depends on the character and their personality and your relationship with them. But you'll be able to you'll be able to play through stories and moments that kind of reflect all different types of relationships.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's really cool. So excited for that feature. One of the ones related to what we can see kind of whilst Nuno is playing was back to the build mode from Scozy. How will you ensure the build mode fits into the art direction of the game at large? And can we expect some form of animal husbandry component, just like Stardew again? So it seems to be obviously a fan favourite.
Was that one for me? Sorry. I got distracted by the chat. Yeah, I heard the question. So everything that is used in build mode is handcrafted by our lovely art team. So they'll make sure that everything fits in together. We'll have different sets of items that will definitely work together, but you are free to mix and match and see what works for you. And when it comes to the animal husbandry, there is a design for animal keeping in the future, but we'll talk about it when the time comes.
Cool. Happy with that. So in other words, just keep watching the live streams, and then we can kind of showcase these. So,
I mean, we don't have chickens for nothing. They're not just going to be decorations.
That was actually another question, which was quite a funny one. Let me see if I can find it in here. I think it was something like, what happens if you get too close to a chicken or swing at a chicken with a tool or something? But yeah, play the game and find out. But these chickens are dangerous.
Yeah, there's nothing that happens right now, but that may not always be the case. I should add, though, just to be clear, I think I saw a question come up about it as well. I don't want to touch on it too much, but I think actually, Indigo, you could touch on this a little bit, is like the narrative around animal safety, let's say, and death. It may be that, in the future, when you hit a chicken, maybe you can smack it, and you can send it flying, but Indigo can finish off that sentence.
So you guys made the great mistake of hiring a vegetarian to write the story. So we're looking for funny interactions with the wildlife and the world around you. Like some of you may have seen with our initial combat tease, we're not directly destroying or killing anything when you're fighting them. And so this is a philosophy that you'll probably see throughout the game, not just in combat. And the narrative reasons for that will be explained in the future. But the overall sense is you are helping to free and to kind of make things healthy and nice again. So smacking chickens, yes, something funny will happen. Maybe not turning them into chicken nuggets just yet.
Can we get like the chicken slap back? So you swing at them and then they swing back at you. I think that would even be a better version.
Well, I will say many discussions have been mentioned about a potential chicken king of some sort. So watch this space, because this may not be the end of the story for our chickens.
Awesome. Right, we are getting close on time now, so I'm going to ask one final question. It's from Samperson, and they're asking more like not a direct feature, but what niche do we see Moonfrost fitting into? Because there's a lot of features in the game.
Yeah, I can definitely touch on that, as it's a really good question. The simple answer is that, to our knowledge at least, there's not really a premium quality live service multiplayer life sim farming RPG on the market at the moment. Like, we're all huge fans of Stardew Valley, Gonçalves, and our dream since the start has been to create an experience that like that, but one that's never ending, and just keeps adding new content and new gameplay and new NPCs and new story over time, and also a story that you really care about and that's exciting and puts you all of you at the center of that story as someone very important. So a life sim farming RPG that you can keep coming back to and progressing through. So long story short, the niche that we're looking to fill with Moonfrost is giving players who are fans of this genre the first premium quality live sim farming RPG that they've had before, but also one that might even attract players to this genre for the first time.
Awesome. I think that was a really good answer, as expected. All I kept thinking was, can we say the genre mix 10 times as fast as possible? So I was
tempted. I'm not going to try it. It'll be a disaster.
We'll do it off the live stream. I'm sure people don't want to try and hear us say that. So yeah, we're going to use this time. Like you said, that was the final question. However, one more came through, which was who's playing this game. So obviously, we just want to say a massive thank you for everyone who's turned up today for the live stream. Thank you for all the guests. Thank you for Nuno, who's the actual player behind this, who's controlling the character. And thank you all for coming. So we really appreciate your feedback. And so one of the kind of surprises that I hinted at towards the start of the live stream is we're going to be running a small competition for you and a little event, and there's going to be some spaces secured for our next alpha release playtest of the game. So easiest thing to do to how you can actually enter this, if you want to play the next version of Moonfrost in its alpha stage, I need to reiterate that point, there will be bugs, is stay on the stream after everyone disappears. There's going to be the key art popping up again, and then some fantastic music, and then there'll be some more instructions to follow. But thank you very much everyone for attending, and look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.